Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the MLG Finals Call of Duty Group Draw. Benson joined by Max and massive thank you as well to TP joining us via Skype. He's going to be casting at the finals. Super excited, but he's also giving us his expert analysis on some of the groups that have been drawn so far. We've drawn Tier 1. They're, of course, automatically drawn. We've drawn Tier 2 teams now into their respective groups. It's time to take a look at our Tier 3 teams once again. Of course, that's going to be Orbit, Rise, Isolation, and XGN. Max, both you and Teep both said you kind of want to find yourself in Group A or Group B if you can. Group C and Group D looking a little scary.
Yeah, and I mean, out of these teams right here, for me, Isolation, Orbit, and I mean, you can't really count out Rise just because Ace is on that team. He's going to show up, in my opinion. But Orbit and Isolation are the two strongest teams in that tier. Orbit obviously just picked up replays. TCM, Pacento, and Happy finished that lineup. And then Isolation, Dito, Lamagod, Havoc, and Silly have been doing really well since they joined Pro League Season 3. But XGN, Fizzurp squad, kind of want to get that A pick. If you get into Group A, that's really going to be your best shot at making it pools.
All right. Well, without further ado, we're going to head back over to Mari for the first pick from our Tier 3 teams. Give him a good old shuffle. So, the first team being drawn into Group A from Tier 3 is going to be XGN.
If you're Fizzurp, you better send Mari some kind of fruit basket.
A bouquet of flowers, some fruit, some chocolates in there as well. Teep, if you're on XGN, are you as happy as we're kind of thinking you should be right now?
I kind of think you have to be. I mean, you're getting one of the, I guess, the easier groups. You're never happy in being in a group with Optic Gaming, right? But you could definitely steal a game versus TK. It's going to be tough for them. I do think TK as a roster is stronger, but it's AW. Anything could happen, right?
Yeah, very, very true. We've seen upsets in pool play before and group play. Will we see it again come finals? That is the question. That's our first team from Tier 3 that has been officially drawn. Back over to Mari now for our second team from Tier 3 that's going to go into Group B. And that is going to be Isolation Esports being drawn into Group B. That's an interesting one for me because ISO is a squad I feel that people have consistently overlooked throughout Advanced Warfare. Maybe they could cause some upsets. Max, what do you think?
I mean, looking at this group right now, I would even put ISO over ON in terms of finishing 1-2 with FaZe. Yep. There are obviously no roster changes there. Team has looked all good, really. Since they qualified in relegation, obviously winning that event. But, you know, Dito really been captaining this team to some success. Yep. Obviously knocked out FaZe at UMG DC, which was a huge upset.
See, that's what I'm looking at, man. Yeah. You look at this Group B, and I think, you know, ISO can definitely shut down Optic Nation. They've, beaten FaZe before. Teep, is ISO as strong as we're kind of making out here? Is Group B actually a little closer than a lot of people may anticipate?
I think it is going to be close, and I was kind of excited to see if ISO is going to be placed in FaZe group because ISO is the team that knocked out FaZe at DC in a pretty close series. So ISO is stronger than FaZe in Search. They just sort of counter each other. Silly Snipes counters the way that FaZe sort of plays. If you shut down Zuma's aggression, FaZe is, I would say, a little bit weak in Search. Zuma's sort of their player where if he's not dropping double digits in S&D, they're pretty a basic S&D team, especially for AW. So I think ISO kind of stirs up that group quite a good amount. And right now, I would say FaZe and ISO are the top two.
Okay. There's also Orbit and Rise left in Tier 3, Teep. If we potentially see Rise drawn into Group C, is that where they want to avoid, or do you want to try and get into Group D if you're Rise right now? What is the game plan for them?
Both are pretty tough, but I would think it's tough. I think I want to go into Group D, though. I think that Denial and Epsilon as two are stronger than Elevate and Envy. So I think if you are Rise, I think you want to try and get into Group D. They don't really have control over it, but that's kind of what they're hoping for, I would think.
Well, the one person who does have control over it is going to be Mari. Mari, back over to you to draw our third team from Tier 3. And that is going to be Rise Nation going into Group C. Max, are you happy if you're Rise?
If you're Orbit, you just dodged a bullet. If you're honestly,
okay.
This Rise team obviously picking up Ace, keep mentioning it. After Season 3 playoffs, team has been up and down. I mean, let's think back all the way to UMG Orlando. Players constantly calling Chino one of the best hardpoint players in the game. This is a team that struggled to qualify for COD Champs. is a team that, let's think back even to Ghosts, had an unbelievable online record at the end of Season 3 in playoffs. It's been extremely up and down with Burns. And they have Wheats. Obviously, Wheats and Burns had a really good placing at COD Champs with automatic reload.
Yep.
But I'm kind of upset I'm in this group now.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one, that's for sure. Of course, that means there's one more team left in Tier 3. It should be Orbit. Mari, if you could do the honors and hopefully make sure I didn't mess up my job.
What if it was John Cena?
Would be wonderful if it's John Cena, and that'd be scary. It is going to be Orbit. It's just for 100% clarification. That will be the team going into Group D. Now, just looking vaguely again at the groups, I asked TP earlier on, Mike, so I'm going to ask you. Start of a group of death, which one is the worst group for you?
I mean, right now, I don't really think there's a true group of death. I think when you take a look at A and B, you obviously have OG and FaZe.
Yep.
C and D, though, you have two teams that are each really strong. For me, C, it's going to be Denial and Epsilon.
Right.
In D, I'm actually going to say Elevate and Orbit, just because I really like that.
Really?
I really like that pickup of replays. I think he's going to really work well in that team. TCM is someone we've had on the ESR before.
Yep.
Really hungry to perform well, especially at the last major AW event. And for me, that Envy squad picking up Jerd and Gunjar, a little up and down. You had that synergy between Looney and Gunjar, that Loonjar, but I'm not too sold on that team.
Okay. In terms of Jerd, TP, what does he really bring to the table for Team Envious?
He averages like 20 caps in hardpoint. I really don't know how he does it. He's one of those players that he's just going to fly at you. He's one of the best at abusing the movement in AW, and he's going to be the one getting, 35 kills, 35 deaths with over like 15 caps in a hardpoint. He's definitely like that make or break hardpoint player for you. If he's going off, you're just going to get destroyed by him. But the one thing I would say is he has a little bit of a problem slowing down when things start turning against you, if that makes sense. If he's able to just settle it down and focus on himself a little bit more rather than just like playing super hyper aggressive all the time, I think Envy's going to be pretty darn dangerous in hardpoint. I haven't seen them play Search or Uplink too much, and Envy was extremely strong at Uplink with their old roster, so I'm not sure how that's going to transition. But you think with Looney and JCap, those sort of trends will continue to carry over even with new players on the team. But overall, Group C, that's the group of death. It's going to be extremely tough. I'm very interested to see how Denial is going to play with a huge change going from replays to classic, completely different types of players.
Yeah, very different.
It's going to be really interesting to see how both those teams perform. But Tier 4 for your European squad.
Yeah, or the Australian. Let's not forget about the Australian, the international squads.
I'm not counting out my Aussie
Never
brothers.
count out the Aussies, man. Whenever the Aussies go to big events, they always seem to perform very, very well. But of course, Tier 4, the final tier to be drawn into the groups. We're going to find out who goes where in terms of our international squads after this quick commercial break. Be right back.